Sabhai Namaha, Sabhasadbhyo Namaha. It is indeed an honor to sit among the Jains and to be able to present my views on this historic occasion. Historic not because it's just a beginning day of a conference, but it's historic in terms of the focus this is trying to bring. Sustainable well-being. I think these would be the watchwords of the present to the future. What is sustainability? What is well-being? How do we attain it? What does it mean to us? What is the impact it would have in our personal lives and lifestyles, the choices that we would have to make in the near future? I think these are some of the pertinent questions that this particular conference would push us, nudge us to think about. So with this, I would like to once again thank the organizers, the School for Management Sciences, which has thought through these details and also established in 2003 itself a center dedicated for spiritualism and human enrichment, much before many other institutions have thought about it. In fact, these are like a fad in these days, but about 20 years ago, to having envisaged such a thing and ventured into it, also come up with a journal like Purushartha, which is such an apt name to push us to think on those lines. I think this institute has been making tremendous contribution to the thinking that would pave way for future. So with these words of gratitude, I would like to focus on each one of these terms that we have put together here. Indian knowledge systems for sustainable well-being. What does it mean? What do we mean by Indian knowledge systems? I think this is one of the primary questions many youngsters might carry today. Why do we call it like that? What do we mean by Indian knowledge systems? We don't use the terms like European knowledge systems, American knowledge systems. While these are not heard words, in that case, why are we using terms like Indian knowledge systems? Is there something that exists in the format of Indian knowledge systems? I think this is something that we really have to apply our mind into. We are given to understand, there is an impression that we carry that knowledge is universal. While yes, it might be so in the cases of hard sciences, when you take astronomy, when you take physics, when you take some other hard science, yes, to a large extent, it is universal. However, when you look into softer sciences, this is not the case, while we are made to believe so. There is a context in which knowledge takes birth. There is a context in which knowledge grows. There is a context in which knowledge expands into universalism. While we focus more on the universalism, we forget the context and genesis of that knowledge. I think this is where this particular focus of Indian knowledge system is trying to bring about. But let me start with this question, what do we mean by that? Then I'll take up other two questions, why and how. Probably this would be the summary of my presentation here. By Indian knowledge systems, we refer to that civilizational wisdom that has been developed over few millennia in this part of the land. It is not necessarily a particular text or a particular tradition or a particular time to which we refer to, but over the period of time. I don't know how far history can date us back. At the moment, there are discussions about 6000 BC with the disappearing of the Saraswati river. I am sure with the passage of time, with the advancement in research, this date will only be pushed far behind. But we will leave that for the science. We are not here to speculate. We are not here to pat our back just because of something that was done in the past. But we are here to filter and to take out those elements that are valuable, which make our lives more meaningful in the present times. This is what is important to us, rather than just to be happy about past glory. No, that is not the case here. So then, did we really have that civilizational wisdom? Many of you might question looking at our own state today. Of course, this is a post-colonial period where we feel impoverished, we feel poorer, We feel to be less privileged when we compare ourselves to our Western counterparts. But was it the fact? Let me just give you a cursory glance of few things which is relevant to you as students of management, as the future leaders of industry. I am sure this would help you a lot in the way forward. There's a book which has been compiled by Angus Madison, which tries to put together nearly 2000 years of economic development across the world. And according to this book, he says nearly for about 1500 years, India and China together occupied 50% of the world's GDP. 50% of world's GDP for 1500 years consistently. Sometimes India took lead, sometimes China took lead, but nevertheless, apart from, even when they took lead, it was marginal. Someone was 26, someone was 24. In this way, for 1500 years, he has compiled data from these resources available. This is a book that all of you can reach out to and access, by Angus Madison, which says India and China occupied nearly 50% of world's GDP, which speaks about the economic outcomes of the society which was there for nearly 1500 till the advent of colonialism in India. So this is in terms of economy, but take any other field for that matter. Take astronomy, the kinds of books that were written right from Bhaskaracharya's Leelavati to up to Kerala School of Mathematics, 1000 years of live tradition. Take music, take art. I mean, we were so inspired by Professor Singh's presentation on the sacred geometry. He was referring to the Tanjavur temple. Just imagine this temple built 1000 years ago. The Gopuram, it weighs about 80 tons, the top stone that is there, it weighs about 80 tons. Let this sink in. That is nearly 72,000 kilograms. 72,000 kilograms was taken above 216 feet and placed on the top. No cranes, and there was no quarry around 100 kilometer radius. Imagine where the stone was brought from, how it was brought, placed above 216 feet above, and it has withstood without concrete, without any cement in between the bricks and the blocks. It has withstood 3 earthquakes, as sir was referring to. What kind of technology was there? What kind of brain looked into it? Just imagine the Ajanta Ellora temples, how they have been cut from the top, the rock cut temples. The temples of Bhumbetka, which goes at around, I don't know, 50,000 years. I mean, what are these are we referring to? Architecture, art, music, drama, one of the best pieces of art literature, starting from Bharata's Natya Shastra, Mammata's Kavya Prakasha, Abhinava Gupta's Abhinava Bharati. Take any field, the way it has been written, mind-blowing. How do you think the school of linguistics emerged in last 100 years? No, it did not come out of the Western mind. It did not come out of a Western analysis. It came out when some of the Western scholars came into India, started studying Paninis Ashtadhyayi. Ashtadhyayi gives one of the finest frameworks to understand human language, human thought. Just because of that one interaction, a new science emerged, what we call as linguistics. And it is linguistics today that is helping us in many advancements that we are taking. A lot of computational language that is emerging. How does a syntax work? How do you make meaning of a sentence? Where is the purport of the passage that you are referring to? Where does it all come from? It comes from the linguistics framework that has been provided. And Paninis Ashtadhyayi, it is a creation of magnificence. It is just a short book of 3,896 verses. They are not even long statements. I'll just give you an example. The last sutra of Panini is just 2 letters. It is just 2 sutras. Imagine. And these 2 sutras have huge implications for 100 sutras behind. I mean, it cannot be created by anyone who is not a genius. So linguistics, you have Panini, you have Ashtadhyayi, you have later what is called as Mahabhashya, the great commentary by Patanjali. You take the field of Ayurveda. Today Ayurveda is becoming popular because it has something plus over allopathy, so that it is becoming popular, not because of any fad. Not because it is just ancient. No, Ayurveda has something more to offer, which I'll come to it later. So take any walk of field. I just can't leave out any walk of field. I mean, so we had this whole big list called as Chatushrishti Kalaha, 64 Kalas. So many things have been listed there. I don't want to go in detail. So each field that the Indian mind, Indian psyche touched, it tried to bring about that genius. Wherever it went to, even in the field of grammar, it takes up high philosophy in Bhartrhari's works. Any field that you take, I mean, just give me any field, I'll show you what work who has come up in that field, who is the genius who has come up with that thought. I mean, therefore, there's one of the proverbial quotes, I guess from Manusmriti, which says, एतद्देश प्रसूतस्य सकाशाद अग्रजन्मनः स्वं स्वं चरित्रं शिक्षेरं पृथिव्यां सर्वमानवाः. It says, people from all parts of the world, पृथिव्यां सर्वमानवाः, एतद्देश प्रसूतस्य, they came to this land, this place, specifically referring to the Takshashila Gurukulam. He used to say that people used to come here to learn about their culture. It's not about to study about Indian culture, but Prithivyam Sarvamanavaha, they came here to learn and to become human beings and to spread knowledge in their own respective countries. So this is what Manu's phrase about how education institutions were here. So right from Takshashila to Nalanda to Vikramashila to all these universities both in north and south of India. I mean, take any walk of life, there is a significant achievement that has been made, and this is what we refer to collectively as civilizational wisdom. And it is this wisdom that has not only allowed us to survive. I mean, survival is not a small thing. Let me tell you, many civilizations could not survive one onslaught of an opposite culture or hegemony. Right? The moment a country was attacked by other country, a moment a country was attacked by other culture, they have lost their existence. Look at all the ancient civilizations, Mesopotamian or the American or any civilization for that matter, they could not survive. Here stands a civilization that not only survived but thrived for 1500 years till the advent of colonialism. You can't survive, you can't thrive without knowledge. It is knowledge that gives you that anchoring space, anchoring strength to survive in the most difficult times. It is the best resource that can help you, that can sail you through difficult circumstances. And this is what we refer to when we say Indian knowledge systems, the civilizational wisdom that we carry. So there is no doubt that there exists a wisdom. Then the question is, why now? Why are we harping on it now at this point? What is the utility of it? Is it relevant to us at all? Is perhaps the next big questions that most of you as youngsters would carry in your minds. So let us look into what it allows us, what it offers to us point by point. First thing, I think as any critical mind would do, as any thinking mind would do, we would want to look into the past to see what is useful, to filter it and bring it to the present so that we don't reinvent the wheel. It is already there, let me make use of it. So this is one first common sense answer as to why we need to look into the past. Point one. I mean, it would be a futile exercise if I were to reinvent a wheel again when someone has that technology, someone has that know-how. So, common sense, yes, it addresses. Point two, which is more important, is as a civilization, there is a lack of confidence today. In fact, last 10-20 years has been a big boost to the Indian mind, but still we carry the pain of the past, the wound of colonialism is very strong. We have always felt inferior. We have always been made to believe that we were second class citizens in terms of our contributions to the world. Even today, look at history of mathematics, you don't find Bhaskaracharya. Look into the discussions on aesthetics, you don't find Abhinava Gupta. Look into the discussion of happiness today. Happiness is a big subject. I'll be coming to it later when we speak about well-being. There is no discussion about the Ananda Mimamsa of Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad very specifically takes up this section called Ananda Mimamsa. What is Ananda? What is happiness? What are the determinants of happiness? How do I define? What are the factors which are contributing towards sustainable, long-term, non-during happiness? So what is it? I mean, take any discussion, our thought has been neglected, ignored for various obvious reasons. So in order to build that confidence back into the civilization, only if you are confident, you will be able to contribute. If you are not confident enough, there is no positive contribution that you can make. There's always a sense of insecurity, and with insecurity, you can't contribute positively. Therefore, to build a sense of confidence as a civilization, we need to look into the past. This is second point. Third, which is even more important, is that we are made to believe, as I said, that knowledge is universal. No, knowledge develops in a context. Therefore, we need to have alternative understanding of things. The Euro-American way of looking at things has been shown as the way of looking at things, which is not the case. I'll explain it by an example how a human being is understood in the Indian context, how human being is understood in a Western or in certain schools of Western schools of thought. I'll come back to that later. But to make knowledge more democratic, to make knowledge more representative, I think we need to have alternative views also properly expressed. Therefore, Indian knowledge systems is required. Fourth one, which is the most important, is when knowledge has been presented, it has been built over a certain hierarchy. Therefore, certain things become the reference point for all things. This is the quote from Claude Lévi-Strauss, who is one of the well-known anthropologists. He says in some place, please don't think anthropology is as neutral as other sciences. I'm not quoting him verbatim, but this is a summary of his quote. He says, anthropology is the science, is an outcome where the conquered is studied by the conqueror. The study of the conquered by the conqueror is anthropology. This is what he very clear. He had that integrity to accept it. When I study your culture, I'm not studying to understand what perhaps contribution you can make, but I'm studying to understand, why is this fellow like this? Why does this fellow behave like this? There is something bad in their culture. With this set of prejudices, I have started to look into the other culture. This is exactly the way anthropology started and moved and developed. And all these social sciences that we study today, right from sociology to economics to every branch of modern social science is an emergent science of anthropology. So if anthropology is corrupted, everything that emerges out of it is corrupted. Therefore, in order to break out of this knowledge hierarchy that has been imposed on us, we need to have this alternative approach. This is not only for Indians. There has been a huge impact, pain that has been inflicted on other nations too. The entire African set of nations, they will be made to believe they are inferior to a Western community or a Western country. Why? This is because of the same knowledge hegemony. Most of the colonial countries carry this pain with them. This is a centuries of pain. Though colonialism was there for maybe 200 to maximum 300 years, they have left a scar which can carry for at least another 500 years. Therefore, in order to break this monotony, break this hegemony of knowledge, we need to have alternative views, and the best case who can lead us in this way forward is Indian knowledge systems, because you have concrete knowledge systems, frameworks, deeper insights, which is readily available to you. So this is the foremost reason why we should get into Indian knowledge systems. So with this, we have looked into what and why. Let me come to the last part, how. And here when I come, I'll just focus on one particular discipline of psychology, specifically focusing on well-being. So this brings to the third component of our title, sustainable well-being. What does it mean? What does well-being focus upon? Well-being is the subject of positive psychology. In fact, a lot of discussion is happening today around subjective well-being, and then you also about flourishing, about maximum functioning, optimization. All these are the watchwords that we follow today. So what is flourishing? What is subjective well-being? And the beauty here is the adding of the adjective sustainable. What dimension is it bringing about? I think that is the most crucial thing here. So what is well-being? Well-being is nothing but an outcome of a life lived satisfactorily, with content, with optimum functioning, with a sense of positive contribution towards the society. It is a collective term which encompasses physical well-being, psychological well-being, emotional well-being, financial well-being, social well-being. All the 5 dimensions are involved when we say well-being. Now let me ask you, what framework gives you the best understanding of well-being? If it has to have financial, social, ethical, emotional, and physical. So if all these factors have to be considered, I mean just one example, let me explain it later. The very idea of Purushartha, which is the journal of School of Management Sciences here, it has all these 4 dimensions embedded into it: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. It very clearly says only if you have all these 4 dimensions properly adhered to, taken care of, it's then your life will be filled with meaning. So life lived with purpose, life lived with meaning is what contributes towards well-being. And also there is a term, sustainable. What does sustainable mean? We use this term often, but have you ever thought what is sustainable? Sustainable is not something that you make out of technology. Okay? So let me ask you this question. What do you mean by sustainable? How do you understand this term sustainable? Is it by having energy that is replenishable? Just because you can get solar energy for any amount of time without exhausting it, is that only sustainable? No. Sustainability is a mindset. Sustainability need to have these 2 components very clearly embedded into it. First, it has to be enduring. It has to continue, go on and go on. It cannot get exhausted. This is one. Second, it should be non-conflicting. It's only when it is non-conflicting then it can be enduring, and that which is enduring can be sustainable. If it is in a continuous conflicting mode, it cannot be sustainable. If I fight for something, if we two start fighting for something, then only one of us can survive. There is no sustainability. You have to sacrifice one for the other. So if sustainability is a big question, then these 2 things have to be there, enduring and non-conflicting. Then what can bring this? It is only dharma which can bring. What does dharma mean? One of the technical definitions of dharma is dharana dharma ityahuhu dharmo dharayate prajaha. What is dharma? Dharma which sustains everything. Dharma which sustains life. Dharma which sustains life in harmony, individual between individual, individual between nature, individual between other beings. Only this is dharma. Dharma is not religion. Often it is mistranslated as a religion. It has nothing to do with religion. Well, religion can be contributive towards the practice of dharma, but that is not the essential feature. Dharma is a sustainable way of living. So that is the first Purushartha, the goal of life. Sustainability has come in, ethical values have come in, considerations for the other beings, including human nature, has come in dharma. Then you have artha and kama, financial well-being. Artha takes care of the financial well-being. Kama takes care of your emotional and psychological well-being. It is moksha. Moksha, I mean, don't get lost into the highly spiritual concept of leaving everything and taking up to sannyasa. No, that is not what we are referring to when we use the term moksha. Moksha specifically refers to the psychological phenomenon where you outgrow certain needs. Growing and outgrowing is part of your development. You grow by consuming something, but at some point of time you also outgrow those needs. Perhaps as a young kid I would have thought that how can one say no to ice cream, right? It is so much that you want always, but today I said, it's enough, acha, it's good, I have had it, I don't need it anymore, or once in a while it's okay. So to outgrow the need. So as human beings focused on human enrichment, human development, we should really emphasize this part that we need to outgrow certain needs. This is what progress is all about. Progress is not consuming more and more. It's as you grow, consuming less and less. Okay, so this is outgrowing. Outgrowing is required for everyone, not only someone who takes a sannyasa, not only who takes a spiritual vow. No, outgrowing is necessary. If things have to be sustainable, then my consumption has to reduce over a period of time. How simple I can lead my life is a very big question, right? So that is the fourth component, moksha. So all the four become extremely important to have a meaningful life, and it's only the life lived with meaning, life lived with purpose is what contribute towards well-being. And therefore I would like to say that there is no other school of thought in the entire world, and I can vouch for it, and it is not just a claim, it's not an exaggeration. The way Indian mind has invested itself into the subjective well-being, there is no other school of thought in the entire world which has come up with so much of wisdom, not just wisdom, but a systematically developed science through which one can arrive and experience it. And this is where significant contributions of Indian knowledge systems is possible. And let me just give you 5 points what I mean by it, and then let me conclude. Point 1, Indian psychology. Within the Indian knowledge systems, I point towards the branch of science which focuses more on the subjective personality and the human individual. That is what we call as Indian psychology. Indian psychology offers a deeper and a rich framework to understand human phenomenon. Human phenomenon is not a material emergent. It speaks about consciousness. If there is one thing that through and through, right from the Vedic verse to the Upanishads to the later text to the Gita, all these texts have emphasized is the understanding of consciousness, Sat, Chit and Ananda, the Chit part. Okay, consciousness is core to the human understanding of, to the Indian understanding of human being. Let me not go into the detail at the moment, but while the Western psychology understands human being as a material being with consciousness as a function, Indian psychology, it completely looks the other way around. It says this is consciousness which has a material existence, which has a material envelope. So this is a completely different perspective here. So this is what I mean when I say Indian psychology offers a deeper philosophical foundation and framework to understand the human phenomenon. This is one. Second, methodology. It is extremely important in any field of science. What are the methods that we use? What is the epistemology that is there to understand? What happened in Western psychology? Those who are the students of psychology will appreciate this fact that when they started off understanding the human mind, they had methods of introspection, reflection, but they felt these are useless, so they completely dropped. And finally they said we will study the behavior. Therefore in psychology we have a very humorous statement. Psychology started as a science of soul, then it became the study of mind, and today it has become the study of behavior and lost the soul. Okay, the focus is completely stopped. Mind is nowhere in question. Today, all you speak about psychology is the science of behavior. How does a consumer behave? Which is in fact a big subject, consumer behavior, right? All the marketing moves on that. Why? How do you arrange a supermarket? It is based on the consumer behavior. What a consumer will pick up, how he will pick up, how do you make him buy more? How do you make him want for more? I mean, instead of reducing from more to less, you are making him to buy more and more, right? So this is all about epistemology. How do you understand? And I think this is where Indian psychology has significant contributions to make. What are the methodologies involved? The entire section on dhyana, the ways of meditation, introspection, looking into reflection, what we can call as rigorous subjectivity. I think this is an important contribution in terms of methodology that Indian psychology can make. Third one, some important theories about understanding of self and personality. The very understanding of Panchakosha, multi-layered human personality, start from the physical layer to the spiritual layer. It has such deep understanding of human being. You are not just one layer, you are not just a material layer, you are not just an energy layer, you are not just a psychological layer, you are not just a deep intuitive layer, you are not just a spiritual layer, you are a combination of all these 5 layers. Roughly I can put it against Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs, starting from the physical biological needs all the way up to the highest need. In fact, he comes up later with a theory which even psychologists and management people neglected, which is the theory of self-transcendence. That's a different thing. But coming back, so this Panchakosha theory has deeper insights. The fourth one is the theories containing to some subtle aspects of depth psychology. How do we understand the layers of the mind? Yoga Sutra text is nothing but a beautiful text of psychology which helps you to understand what does vasanas, the samskaras, how do they operate, what are the modes in which they operate. Rich information when it comes to yoga. Yoga is not just about doing asanas, that is just one small component. Yoga is more about how do I understand human mind. And lastly, it not only gives you the philosophy, it not only gives you the foundation and the framework, it also offers you a good set of tools, equipments, practices and technology as to how you can work yourself in terms of applied psychology. Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga are not just names. They are specific psychological ways which has rich repertoire of tools and techniques as to how you can work on your mind and elevate yourself to grow and to outgrow. So these are the 5 areas in which Indian psychology significantly contributes. So with this, I would like to conclude that of all the areas, psychology is the richest in which IKS can contribute, and especially specifically to subjective well-being, and that too enduring or rather sustainable well-being. Therefore, it is important for students of management, for students of social sciences to start looking into Indian knowledge systems, and not only that, perhaps once you start looking into it, you will be able to look into the entire expansion of knowledge systems and see how richly they can contribute and how much meaning they can bring to our current contemporary lives, which will be the contribution towards the future. So with these words, I would like to once again thank the organizers and all the giants on the stage for allowing me this opportunity to share it with you. Thank you.